deeply into this twist. And I'm slowly coming back to center. I like to drop the knee open, slide the foot along the mat. And you'll notice usually one leg feels longer than the other. One whole side of the body feels different. We'll do the other side. This time I'm crossing the right ankle to the front of the left thigh. And I'm going to lasso the ball of the left foot with the strap. So if you need the leg to be lower, you're holding the strap, a longer strap. If the leg can be higher, you're holding closer to the foot. So it just depends on where you can maintain a lumbar curve, the natural curves of the spine. And I'm slowly lowering the legs over to the left. So I'm using the core muscles to assist in slowing the rate of descent. So breathing here. And again, you can hold the pose as long as you like. For purposes of our video today, it's about 45 seconds. Pressing the right foot into the floor, drawing the knee from the chest, lengthening right hip to armpit. Or maybe you don't want to go so deeply into the pose, and you can let the knee soften in a little bit. So you're finding the place that works for you. We're never trying to create pain in our yoga practice. It's meant to be fun. And you're breathing. So still breathing in the same expansive, spacious way. Try not to press off of the left arm to come back to center. Set the strap quietly aside. And then hold the right knee and foot. Lower the left leg all the way down to the floor. Here we go again. Baby cradle. So it's baby cradle pose. Just gently rocking side to side, maybe making circles, drawing the knee toward away from the chest. We're not yanking ourselves around. And then happy baby, holding the foot. And you might hold the foot with a short loop of strap to make your arm longer, to make this a more accessible pose. Maybe you even want to stretch the leg out to the right. You don't have to do any of these things. These are just different variations. You'll find for yourself what feels good as you become more comfortable with your practice. The sole of the right foot on top of the left thigh, left hand to the right knee. Inhale, length through the spine, and exhale the knee across the body. So making whatever little adjustments you need. Always a good idea to lengthen through the left leg, the extended leg. So breathing fully. And even using your left hand to sort of press the right hip away from the right armpit, to coax a little length through the right thigh. Just breathing here, enjoying the breath. This is a really deep twist, so the breath has to be deeper than usual. You're trying to get into the low belly, side ribs all the way to the upper lungs, just like a regular deep yogic breath. And then slowly back to center. You can drop the knee open, slide the foot along the mat. Even give yourself a big stretch, letting the whole length of the spine arc away from the floor if that feels good. And just pausing a moment, feeling the effects of your twist practice here. The yogis say we really feel the effects when we come out of the twist, when fresh oxygen, blood, nutrients sort of flood the organs. And then we'll do a variation of Supta Padangusthasana. I can already reach the block. Oh, for God's sakes. So smooth. Put the block underneath the sacrum. So the block is on its medium end, unless the flat end is more comfortable for you. So I'm going to lift the right leg up. I'm holding behind the right thigh. If this is just not happening, take your strap and use it to make your arms a little longer. Maybe you're using the strap to hold behind the thigh. You can also lasso the right foot with the strap if you prefer that. So I'm holding behind the thigh. I'm going to lengthen the left leg long. And I'm just breathing here, drawing the right hip away from the right armpit, extending through the left leg, releasing the shoulders back to the mat. You'll feel a stretch through the hamstrings, the calf muscles, and just enjoying the breath. So the block gives a little extra lift for the psoas muscles, big postural muscles in the body. And then release the right leg alongside the left leg. You'll notice a difference. The right leg feels like it's sort of heavier toward the mat. And the left thigh, same thing. You can use a strap behind the thigh. You can use it over the foot, like we just did with that variation of Supta Padangusthasana. So I'm trying to draw the left hip away from the left armpit and lengthening through the right leg. And breathing here, the shoulders draw back. I'm trying to open up as much space as I can in the pose. So there's no pain. There's no pain causing me to sort of, draw in and hold my breath. And then I'm going to reach the arms along the ears, reach out through the legs. And I'm drawing the ribs in a little to let the back body open up even more. I'm engaging the quadricep muscles to allow the hamstrings to lengthen. And then go ahead, bend the knees, lift the hips just enough to set the strap aside. This is a block, to set the block aside and lower the hips to the floor. And then you can extend the legs out straight and pause a moment here in your new Tadasana. It'll feel different. The femur is sort of heavier, more grounded. The shoulders back. There's space in the low back. Go ahead and bend the knees. We're going to do a couple rounds of bridge pose here. So I'm beginning by reaching my fingertips to the ceiling. I'm inhaling the fingers up and exhaling the shoulders back to the mat. Inhaling up, exhaling back. A few rounds of movement here. The next time I exhale the shoulders back, I'm going to bring the elbows down beside the ribs. And imagine you're hugging the block with your knees, so your adductor muscles firing up, inner thighs. Use the strength of the legs to widen the sitting bones apart, to open up the low back, and then continue that. Go ahead and arc through the whole length of the spine. With that arc, press into the elbows and feet and lift the hips up. So your first bridge pose. The heart's moving toward the chin's drawing away from the chest. Thighs are parallel, feet are active, so spread the toes. And release the hips down. We'll get ready for a second bridge pose. Beginning in that same way, creating a nice, long, even arc through the whole length of the spine. Press into the feet, the elbows, and lift the hips. This time you might want to rock a little side to side, shoulder to shoulder, sort of work the shoulders underneath. If you like a deeper variation of the pose, maybe come up on tiptoes and leave the hips there, but drop the heels back down. And release the hands, release the hips. So we never hug the knees right in after a back bend. We want to give the discs between the vertebrae time to sort of get back into their proper place. We don't want to catch them. And from here, we'll roll to the side and come up. Let's go ahead and do a couple of cat-cow movements, and then we're going to do a little lunge hip opener series. So it'll be a wild thing. We'll have a different hip opener. So you can have blocks if you like. We're not going to be in our lunges for very long. So come to table and feel free to have a blanket under the knees. And let's start in Halloween cat, really rounded over. Lifting the sitting bones, sinking the ribs, sides of the throat draw up toward the ceiling. So there's space at the neck. We're not creating any hunching or squashing. So getting some movement. And as always, you can get creative. Maybe you're circling the hips or bowing out the ribs. You can add in downward facing dog or child's pose. So we're gonna get ready for downward facing dog. I'm creating this space in the low back, but notice the rib shape. I don't want that. I'm gonna draw the ribs up. I'm broadening across the shoulders, even as I hug the hands isometrically in. So I'm creating Tadasana. Curl the toes under and press back, downward facing dog. The hands are hugging in, but I'm externally rotating the upper arms. So this is not happening around the shoulders. And this is not happening. I'm not rounding in the low back. You can bend your knees, hug the shins in and lift the sitting bones up. And then engage the core muscles a little and slowly, perhaps, straighten the legs. You don't have to. So here we go, wild thing. I'm lifting the right leg way high and then bending the knee. So it's a hip stretch. And then coming back to center. I'm going to draw the knee into the chest. The right leg is straight. It's going out to the left. So a twist and a hip, outer hip stretch. And back to center. Wild thing on the other side. Way high. And I'm going to draw the knee in and send the leg out. So the foot is active. And then back to center. I'm bringing the right foot forward to a lunge. And I'm going to walk the hands to the inside of the front foot. Bend the elbows and lengthen my heart toward the upper left corner of the room. You can always lower the forearms to the mat or to a block if you find that to be a fun pose. And coming back, downward facing dog, the left foot forward to a lunge. And I'm walking the hands to the inside, bending the elbows. So this is one variation. It's pretty strengthening for the upper back and arms. You can also come down to forearms, which might be a little bit of a deeper hip stretch. And back to a lunge, back to downward facing dog. So I'm stepping the right foot forward. So the feet are hip point distance apart. They're not one in front of the other. And I like to press into the right foot and sort of press forward to come up. I find it's more comfortable for the knees. I'm going to stretch my left arm up and reach back through the inner left heel. I'm trying to draw the low belly up, knit the ribs a little bit. So this is a psoas stretch on the left side. Reaching back through the left heel and sinking down into the right hip a little bit, even as I draw the low belly up. And you can get fancy with this. You can do back bends, twists, your choice. That one is a psoas stretch. You can feel free to straighten your front leg if that feels good. And we'll do the other side. Whichever side that is. This one, the left foot forward. And then coming up again to a high lunge. I'm reaching up through the right fingertips and reaching back through the inner right heel. So breathing here. So the more I gently tone and engage the core muscles, the easier it is to balance. If I let the abs go and I kind of like do a little back bend, I lose the integrity of the upper and lower body. I lose my ability to balance. And you can straighten the front leg if that feels good. So, downward facing dog. And let's take child's pose. Letting the knees separate and the big toes touch. So your favorite variation of child's pose. We're breathing into the back and side ribs, the low belly. So this is your little retreat. You can stay in child's pose as long as you like. It's a good opportunity to check in with the breath. How the breath sometimes gets away from us. I'll say always gets away from us. Unless you're like I don't know, Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl performance or something. I don't know how those people do it. It's like I can barely talk. Okay, so coming forward, we're going to go back to downward facing dog. And then I'm going to walk my hands back to the feet, Uttanasana. This variation I'm doing is with the knees bent and holding the elbows, so I'm really hanging. And then I'm going to interlace the hands behind the low back. I like to hug my feet isometrically in and squeeze the glutes to come all the way up to standing. So we're not standing up very much in our practice today, but we are doing a couple of things, one of which I think is really very cool. We're using the tennis ball to create a hamstring release. So take your tennis ball, set it under the right foot. You can start on either side. What we're doing is pressing and holding. We're going to be here on this foot for a minute. Every 10 seconds, I'll tell you to shift the ball to another part of the foot. Go ahead and shift to another part of the foot. And it's random. It's not you don't have to go in any particular order. And just pressing and holding, go ahead and shift to another part of the foot. So during the course of our minute, we'll try to get the whole foot covered. And shift to another part of the foot. Don't forget the mounds of the toes, the inner, the outer arch, the heel. Shift to another part of the foot. And then last 10 seconds, go ahead and shift to wherever on the foot you haven't already visited. And then just give a little massage across the whole foot, really pressing down very firmly. Marissa, I would have painted my toenail if I know you're so close. And then go ahead and step off the tennis ball and notice the difference between the feet. Notice also the back of the right knee, the foot that was on the tennis ball. The back of that knee often feels softer. So that particular foot massage is also a really terrific release for the hamstrings. Let's shift to the other side. We're pressing into the left foot, pressing and holding, and I'll tell you when 10 seconds is up here and we can shift to another part of the foot. And moving to another part of the foot, pressing and holding. For those of you who are doing a lot of walking or running, trying to get their exercise in, this often feels really good. Shift to another part of the foot. The hamstrings get tight, as do the calf muscles. Pressing and holding, and let's shift to another part of the foot. You might notice a bundle of nerves at the base of the big toe mound. That's pretty sensitive. You might want to press into it or back away from it, depending. And to another part of the foot. So we're just using the weight of the body here. We're breathing. We're allowing the fascia here to release, the plantar fascia. Last part of the foot. Pressing and holding. And then go ahead and just move a little bit, pressing strongly. A little massage. And we're going to do a side stretch. So stepping off the tennis ball, just notice the feet here, the ease, a little more ease at the back of the knees perhaps. And here's the side stretch. We're standing in Tadasana. The tennis ball's under my heel and it's poking out a little behind the heel. And I'm going to send my arms overhead, hold my right wrist with my left hand. So the side that's on the tennis ball, I am stretching away from the tennis ball side. And if you need to separate the feet wider for balance, not a problem. I like to spin the heart toward the ceiling and then down toward the mat. So getting a stretch through the side body all the way back up. I'm going to release the arms and step off the tennis ball. There's a big difference now, the right side and the left side. I've created a lot more ease and space. And then I'll do the same thing The tennis ball is kind of poking out behind the left heel. So my teacher, Jenny Otto, worked a lot with the feet, and I learned this from her. My arms overhead, I'm holding the left wrist and stretching away from the tennis ball. Continuing to breathe. I'm going to let the heart spin toward the ceiling, down toward the mat, and all the way back upright, and release the arms, step off the ball. Just notice sort of the length of the side body, the ease of your standing pose, Tadasana. I'm going to set the ball aside where I'm not going to fall over on it. And then we're going to do a little bit of a balance pose here, which is also a hip opener. You can always have a chair nearby. You can be near a wall, a windowsill. So I'm standing in Tadasana, active feet. I've got the core muscles gently toned and lifted to help with my balance. And I'm going to cross the right ankle to the front of the left thigh. So another figure 4 pose. Hinging at the hip creases, I might come forward, maybe my hand on the knee and the foot. Maybe I'm coming to a block that's here, maybe to the mat. Maybe I'm bending the standing knee a little bit more, so you can experiment with where you're feeling a nice stretch. And I'll do that same thing on the other side. So finding my Tadasana first, active standing foot, cross the ankle, and find balance, especially by toning, engaging the core muscles. And then I'm going to hinge at the hip creases. Maybe I'm holding the foot and the knee. Maybe I'm coming all the way to the floor. Maybe I'm bending the standing knee. This pose can be done in a chair. You can be sitting in a chair doing the pose. You can bring your raised shin to a windowsill, for example. So it's a variation of pigeon. Okay, we're about to do a block lunge. So you'll need your block or, a stiff blanket of about that size. And from downward facing dog, I'm stepping my left foot forward. The block is on its medium side. I'm letting the back thigh lower to the block. So above the knee, the thigh, and then I'm relaxing the back leg. So I'm letting gravity work for me here. And we'll be here like about 45 seconds, but you can stay as long as you like in the pose, or if it gets to be uncomfortable, and especially if it gets to be painful, you can come out of it. My front knee can drop open. I can turn the front toes out. That's a little extra stretch. I'm really making an effort not to engage the right leg. So using the weight of the body, sinking down into the prop, sort of moving the femur back in its socket. Block lunge. From my teacher, Joe Miller at Willow Street. So all of these poses, all of these variations come from somewhere. My teachers, I didn't make them up. So coming back to downward facing dog. And you'll notice often that the leg that was on the block, and you might maybe even see it here, is further back. Maybe the heel is lower to the floor as a result. And then I'll step the right foot forward and lower the back thigh. So this is a really nice psoas stretch. Big postural muscles in the body, the psoas, the hip flexor. I'm letting the right toes turn out, letting the right knee drop open, and that's a little extra pizzazz. You don't have to do it. Maybe this is your pose. You can have your forearms up on a block if it's too low. But we're really letting the back leg completely relax and breathing here. And again, spending about 45 seconds. I like 45 seconds, a minute in these poses. You can stay even longer or less time. So you're making those choices. And then from the block lunge, We'll press back to downward facing dog. And your downward facing dog often feels a little more open, a little more free. I'm setting my block aside because now I'm going to bring the left knee forward, pigeon. So the left shin doesn't have to be parallel. The foot can be further back. It's totally fine. We're keeping the front foot really active, kind of like you're pressing on a gas pedal. And the back leg is parallel to the mat. I'm going to bring the torso upright. Lift the low belly, draw the ribs in a little, extend up through the crown of the head, and I'm going to keep that length as I come forward to forearms. Maybe your forearms are on a block or a blanket here. So pigeon is called the mother of all hip openers. It's a very useful pose. It can be done. You can be doing this standing like we just did. You can have this shin on a windowsill. You can even be sitting in a chair with this leg crossed over the right leg, creating the same kind of effect. Breathing here, softening between the shoulder blades, enjoying the breath. And we'll go back to downward facing dog. We're going to do 2 pigeon poses on each side. And broad across the shoulders, nice long spine. So this is just another variation of Tadasana, bringing the right knee forward to pigeon. And bringing the torso a little more upright. Back leg is parallel to the side of the mat, and the toes can be turned under or not, whichever you find most comfortable. And coming forward to forearms. And again, really pressing through the right big toe mount. So I don't want the right ankle to sickle. I want to lengthen evenly through the inner and outer ankles.